Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How we doing, guys? Hope you're doing very well. Hope you're doing very well. I'm having a good day. I'm having a good day. So, here, Cat Slave 56 over on Rumble. What's up to Rumble? What's up, locals? Hope you guys are doing great. Look, I haven't watched it, but I saw that he was ripping it apart or whatever. You know, that whole thing about, oh, you can't raise someone else's Fifth or Sixth Amendment rights in your, the prosecution had to concede that we were right. They conceded it in court. So I guess maybe someone in their weird rage forgot that the confrontation clause exists. That little thing called the Constitution that you have to, like, you know, kind of use as a rule book that exists. And like people are like, just forgot that the confrontation clause exists. And you can't just like do an end run around people's Sixth Amendment rights or their Fifth Amendment rights and then try and get inadmissible statements admitted. Like, they don't just let you do that because the person who you're doing that to also has rights, even if they're not directly implicated. And one of those rights is the right to confront any witness against you. But like, if you can't call that witness because they have a Fifth Amendment right that you can't pierce, the state doesn't just get to use that. And you know how you know this is true? Like, this is the funny part. You know this is true is because they don't just do it all the time, because they just do it all the fucking time. If it worked the way that certain reviewers thought it would work, they would just always do it, because you could always get someone else to make the statements that you need without Miranda and then just trample on the rights of everybody else. They just do it all the time, but they don't, for some reason, do that. It's not a normal practice to just fucking curb stomp Miranda rights like it's an African American in Ed Norton's boot. Like, it doesn't. I just wonder sometimes about some of my friends. Because I'm sitting here and I'm going, I know they keep saying that I'm a non-practicing lawyer, proudly fucking so. I know they keep saying it, but I'm just sitting here going, but their analysis is bad. Like, not their conclusions. So there's two different aspects of how legal analysis works, right? You have your analysis of the issues, identify the issues, identify the legal questions, and then you have your application section, or a lot of people would call it like a prediction or an outcome or whatever. And you take the facts and then you apply them to the legal analysis. But like, the analysis part should be fairly consistent. And the question should generally revolve around, the facts at issue. Because then you go, okay, well, here's how the analysis works. The question is around the facts. That should be relatively frequent. Now, obviously, you're going to have people with different legal analyses. We have that all the time. Lawyers disagree on the law. They say, no, the law doesn't say this. And one says, well, it does say this. And then one's generally right and one's generally wrong. I mean, that happens in almost every court case, is you have someone who says the law is this way and someone who says the law is that way. But the analysis of how you get there is pretty consistent. And sometimes I just wonder, like, how much non-practicing lawyer derangement syndrome some of these people have. And I'm like, guys, like, please stop doing bad analysis because you're mad about something, whatever it is. I don't care, but like, stop throwing your own integrity down the fucking toilet. That's weird. It's just me. You don't need to help people hate me. They do it already. They do it for free. They do it for free. They don't need you. Like, just calm down. Out there screaming and yelling, like, I can't believe he's doing this. Like, and yet we go in and the prosecutor's like, yeah, that whole thing was really bad, where he kind of just like fucking steamrolled her Miranda rights, or the reading of Miranda and her assertion of Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights. That was probably not good. So we're just going to let that issue go, because fuck. But please tell me again, practicing lawyers, how you got that one right. We won't even get into how bad your analysis has been on the actual substance of the motion that we filed. So I started to get the feeling that maybe the practicing lawyers out there don't deal with Frank's challenges to warrants. And I know I'm just talking shop right out the gate. I'm not even doing any sort of intro, and I apologize for that. But we're getting into it here, because like I haven't been able to say anything about this filing that we did because we had a hearing today. And I won't be able to say much about the specifics because the state gets to respond, and I'll talk about what happened at court. But I'm sitting here going, they all think this is a motion to suppress or a motion in limine. Do they not know about a Frank's challenge to the warrant? Like, I'm not sure if they just don't, like, if they're not familiar with it. It's a federal case. It's not like a Minnesota specific thing. So I'm just sitting here going, why do they think this is a motion to suppress? And it's great because they're going through all these analyses, right? And they're like, no. Look, the video's the exact same. Of course it's the exact same. Look, it's there's no edits here. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. It's like, but what you're doing is you're arguing about the sufficiency of the evidence for a trier of fact. But we're not at trial, guys. We're not even close to trial. We're not asking a judge to rule on the sufficiency of the evidence, because what you've done is presented an argument as to why this evidence would be admissible, but admissibility isn't the issue. And if you're stuck on the admissibility of the video, I'm just going to encourage you to go back and read the fucking document again, because it lays out that, again, this is a Frank's challenge. The Frank's challenge is about the sufficiency of the warrant request, not the evidence used in the warrant request. There's a nice distinction there, but you have to know what you're talking about. But hey, you know what? It'd be kind of weird. It'd be kind of strange. What if I told you that there's a non-practicing lawyer out there who is representing a client in a felony possession case in Candy, Ohio County, in front of Judge Wenzel, and won that case on a Frank's challenge to a warrant, where the prosecution, or I guess actually just the affiant, the officer who requested the search warrant, lied about having a confidential informant. They actually called them a concerned citizen when they were a confidential informant. What if I told you there was a non-practicing lawyer out there who won a case in front of this judge on this issue? It's almost like there was a resource you could go to and find the winning argument on a Frank's challenge in front of the same judge. If you looked, and maybe the non-practicing lawyer, the retarded, stupid, non-practicing lawyer, maybe he has some idea of how a Frank's challenge works and you fucking don't, which is embarrassing to be worse at this than me. That's the biggest own I can imagine. How can you be worse at lawyering than I am? I don't get it. Cause like you're over there, the video. You want the video? Like, does the state need the video? It's still there. It's still on Rumble. It's still on YouTube. It was never taken down. Go visit the URL. It'll tell you it's private. It is. But they can easily get that video from YouTube, right? Yes, they can. Why didn't he? Well, they could easily get that from Rumble, right? Well, yeah, he can. Why didn't he? Why didn't he do that? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Odyssey. Oh, you can get it from Odyssey. Yeah, he can. Why didn't he? Isn't that strange to you? Doesn't that bother you? Why he would say he got it from YouTube and Rumble? Why he would say he reviewed my video, but then not actually do that? When he could do it easily. Or better yet, what he could have done was just say that he didn't. He could have just said that he didn't. I watched it from this other place. I found it reliable. Okay. But why didn't you? Why didn't he do that? Maybe he had doubts about its reliability. Maybe it's because cops lie sometimes. Maybe it's because cops lie a lot of the times. But that's none of my business. But the embarrassing thing is not even the cop lying. Oh, and by the way, I can prove it because we have to be able to raise this challenge. That's the thing. You don't raise a Frank's challenge willy-nilly. You don't go, I'm going to take a shot in the dark. That's why what you actually are doing is asking for the judge to grant a Frank's hearing. And at the Frank's hearing, there will be an evidentiary argument. And we'll find out. We'll find out if the cop lied or not. He did. He did. It's easy to prove. It's easy to show. And the crazy thing about this is like you don't go into a Frank's challenge by bringing in a bunch of extra stuff. Like, look, I can show all this. I can do this because that's a temptation. You want to fight everything all the time. Criminal cases are big. You want to fight them. You want to like, no, I want to fight this and this and this and this and this, but you don't fight them all at once. You don't fight those battles all at once. You pick the appropriate battles for the appropriate times, and the other stuff has to wait. But here's the deal. You don't go into a Frank's challenge by bringing in a bunch of evidence that you think the cop should have known. If you do that, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You have to use the information that they provide in the warrant and through discovery. You have to know. Numero uno Josh Denny fans is it's the same video, retard. There's nothing different on your video. You're arguing the wrong thing. That's the best part. You're arguing the wrong thing. And that you can't figure that out is the fault of the practicing lawyers who can't seem to analyze a Frank's challenge. But they were all right. You know, like they're right about those Sixth and Fifth Amendment questions too. When they're right about the seizure of firearms, aren't they? They're right about all of it. I'm sure. I'm just like, of course, because what I did was I just hired an attorney who he would just let me draft all the motions and everything, and he just sign them, right? Like I've seen that as if, first of all, as if you'd hire someone to do that anyway. But second of all, as if he would forego his ethical obligations and do that is fucking ludicrous. But people just can't figure out why the practicing attorneys who are all sitting on YouTube more than I am, why they're getting this shit wrong. They're wrong about all the family stuff too. I don't know if anybody's keeping score, but practicing attorneys are losing all of their predictions. They're only getting all of them wrong. But hey, what's that temptation, right? When you forgo your legal analysis, you throw away your credibility on the altar of super chat money. Hope it works out for you. I hope you all make $1 million. So anyway, court went a little bit anticlimactic today. So I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Let me hit the super chats that have come in. I had to pontificate a little bit, get my little monologue in, but we'll talk more as we go. But I'll talk about how court went. Don't worry. It was a little anticlimactic for a lot of people, myself included, because I'm at the point now where I've been waiting for today for 3 months. I've been waiting for today for 3 months just because it was my first chance, just the first chance to start this fucking fight. The government gets to run your name through the mud. They get to lie. They get to misrepresent things, and they get to make, we'll word it more diplomatically. They get to make honest mistakes too. They get to make honest mistakes or just suspicious misrepresentations. That's what people don't understand about some of the stuff, like the mandated reports and stuff. It's like there are people who get things wrong with no negative intention at all. They just get something wrong. Like maybe a mandated reporter who didn't report a single thing firsthand. But maybe what they did was they took reports from 4 people who fucking lied. Maybe that's what happened. Not sure. That could hypothetically happen. But maybe 4 people got together and fucking lied. And a mandated reporter made a report with 0 firsthand knowledge. Maybe that happens. All right. The people receiving the report don't necessarily know that, right? Like they don't know that. So they may take it and work on it. The problem is when they find out that they got it wrong, when they find out that it was a fucking lie, they don't have any duty to correct it. They don't want to. They want you to be a villain because otherwise they would look like maybe they did some shit that wasn't right. Even if you give them the benefit of the doubt, you just go, hey, kind of fucked up, you know? And they're content to just let that marinate. Maybe let a couple things, maybe just a couple things out into the public to make it look a certain way. Maybe those things just accidentally get out, like unredacted documents that I couldn't possibly have had yet and still don't, because all of my copies are redacted by statute, but the unredacted ones aren't. Maybe like they just let those slip out by mistake, right? And just let it sit there to maybe taint people's opinion of you or whatever their motivation is. I don't even know. Maybe that happens. But they do that, and you're forced to just sit there eating your fucking hand for 3 months, just waiting. Eventually, I'll get discovery. Eventually, I'll look at what they have. I know that this can't be right, but I got to see what they have first. And you just sit and sit and sit, and they don't give it to you, and they don't give it to you, and they finally give you bits and pieces and little things here and there. They do last minute dumps, less than 24 hours before a hearing. They do all that stuff, all that cute little interaction. And you have to just fucking take it. Because the temptation is to fight. The temptation is to go out there and say, no, this isn't this is that, this isn't true, that's not true. You sit there and they just, okay. And they take notes. And then all those things you said, all the ways you defended yourself, everything you said when you didn't have the information, then they use that against you like a sledgehammer. And I thought that the practicing lawyers out there would know that, but they just didn't. Because why would they not? Maybe they're just a bunch of
white bread ass niggas, man.
Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe they saw an opportunity and their credibility was on a sacrificial altar for those little super berries, little super chats. I'm going to get my super chats too. You guys are fucking embarrassing. But it's fine. I'm sure you'll keep being right. It's okay. And look, I'm not saying I'm going to win straight out the gate here. I'm not saying how this case is going to go. I'm not making predictions. I'm just saying I have rights and I will assert them and I will fight this as long as I can possibly fucking fight it. Because I actually am fighting for something. Rather than sitting there cackling and mauling about just to try and take people's money to give them the opinions they ask for. Hope it works well for you. But I've been waiting for this day because we got to finally start to fight. I get to finally speak because I can only really speak through my lawyer. The stuff I talk about here is either wildly public knowledge or has been dealt with in some way or is completely adjacent to any real issues. And so, but we finally get to do some talking. And the first thing we did was filed this Frank's challenge. And the Frank's challenge says very simply, the detective, Officer Pomplin, lied. And the standard is, with knowledge of the falsity or reckless disregard for the truth, misrepresented to the judicial officer information that was material to the issuance of the warrant. That's what our filing says. To make a showing under Frank's, you have to make a prima facie showing. That means on the face of the challenge, you have to say which statements were false and give a statement of reasons why they were false. You have to list that if it was a misrepresentation that was material to the to a particular element, or if it was an intentional misrepresentation, whether or not it's material. If we win on this, we then get a Frank's hearing. And the Frank's hearing is where those statements, the challenge to those statements gets evaluated, right? You duke it out like old school. But if you heard any legal experts or practicing lawyers talking about suppressing evidence or motions in limine or anything about evidence in the case or trying to exclude anything out, and they're doing some sort of analysis about that, well, they're flat out fucking wrong. And they got the basic question of the purpose of the motion incorrect. So if that was the analysis from any of the legal experts that you guys have seen, I tend not to watch theirs because I've been so embarrassed to have known most of them that it's just not really worth actually engaging the content. But if that's what you've seen, I can tell you straight out, that's the first fucking filter. If that's what they're talking about and reading these motions, they've got it wrong from jump, and their analysis is going to be as garbage as their shows are. But again, we'll talk about this Frank's challenge a little bit more in a second. I promised to read the super chats. Let me do that first. SVH says, I still can't get over you being 1 minute late. Are you sure you're gay? Oh, I'm pretty sure. Draconamore says, it was great meeting you while I was bartending at Marriott during Matsuri. I knew you would beat this shit. Well, I haven't beaten it yet. Wait a minute. Holy shit. You're the mixologist at the Marriott? Dude. Some good fucking drinks. Logan Orr, the first time you let another guy sleep with your wife, you become embarrassment forever. Imagine having kids explaining mom's extra boyfriend. Well, Koof says, thank you for not killing yourselves. Thank you, Koof. Same thing. Fred Jabooby says, rackets, where did you get the Stein? This I got from actually at Anime Matsuri. It's a place called Pecos Pete's. They have sweet tea that you can get in this. And if you buy one, you get like free refills all day. Delicious. Kevin Brownell says, how does April's statements after the warrant was executed challenge the warrant getting signed in the first place? I don't know that they do. That was a separate issue, but there you go. Well, as stated by my lawyer in court, let's do it this way. There is a time and a place to raise the challenge to Fifth and Sixth Amendment violations not on behalf of a third party that are impacting the defendant as a result of violations of a third party's rights. Okay. And the question is, do you bring that challenge too late? Because there's case law suggesting that there is a waiver where if you don't raise that issue soon enough, it's waived because now it's too late. So we raised the issue in our motion, and the issue again has been resolved by concession from the county attorney. So that's good. The county attorney acknowledged that the rights were violated, and they're not going to use those statements. So there you go. Perfect. But what does it have to do with the warrant being signed? Nothing. It's a separate part of the challenge. Let's see. Here we go. JS says, I work with a retired cop. He lies nonstop and is small-minded and power-hungry, horrible guy. Some of them are like that. I know a couple of retired cops that are really good dudes, really nice. I don't know how they were as cops. I didn't have to deal with them. But Nice to Lizard says, hey, Nick, praying for a good result for you and your family that brings stability back into your lives. Thank you very much. Renegade Shuriken says, how long are you going to keep being proven right? Hopefully all the way. Because it's my life. right? It's my life that that hangs in the balance here. I'm the most interested party in all of this in regards to my case. Obviously, Lady Rackets has her case. We're each the most interested parties in our own cases and each other's. But like I'm talking about outside of our very close circle, like other people get to comment on it from the sidelines, and that's fine. But it's just funny watching them flush their integrity down the toilet, claiming to do the opposite, by the way. I have never fucking asked anybody to be uncritical of me. Ever. I've never demanded loyalty. Do you remember the whole like Legal Bites loyalty thing? Do you remember who did that? Does anybody remember who did that? Because it wasn't me who did that. That was Legal Mindset. I can't look in all the directions necessary, but that was Legal Mindset with the purity test, the loyalty test. Isn't that funny how that worked out? But that wasn't me. I've never asked people to be loyal. I lamented that some people had nasty opinions about things that I did, but so I've never asked people to be uncritical. I've never said agree with me on fucking anything unless it was an obvious joke. But the practicing lawyers, that's laughable in some of these cases, by the way. Whew, that definition of practicing is one I wouldn't even argue. Holy shit. But these practicing lawyers, man. Okay. Right-wing extremist says, show that first negative cocaine drug test result and I'll believe the rest. It's not like the prosecution doesn't already have it. Dude, that every negative, show the first negative cocaine drug test result. But if you already know it's negative. Again, guys, if I didn't have exclusively negative tests, I wouldn't have my children back. There's just no way around it. You know, people are like, he tested positive for alcohol on his first test. You're right. I did. I wasn't under restriction. They had not told me that I could not drink alcohol. They hadn't told me anything, actually. It's like people are like, can't believe it. It's like, well, yeah. And again, as soon as the court said, no. Interestingly, so here's what they do to you in family court. Let's actually talk about this because this is really interesting to me. We were never ordered to stay away from alcohol in family court. We were told we had to, but the order itself, this is neat little just Minnesota trivia. And I'll teach you guys why this is important because this is a CPS trap. This is a CPS trap. So the order itself says no mood altering substances. Now, every order I've ever read that includes no mood altering substances says no mood altering substances, including alcohol. That's the template language for a Minnesota order that has a restriction on chemical uses. No mood altering substances, including alcohol. And I think soon they're going to modify that to say including alcohol and marijuana or alcohol and THC. Because now that marijuana is legal in Minnesota recreationally, they're going to run into this issue of, wait, I can't have these, not having illegal substances makes sense, but legal substances, is that going to be a restriction? And they've always clarified that alcohol is there. Our order did not include alcohol in the thing. Now, we treated it, however, as if alcohol was included, right? Once the order said no mood altering substances, of course, done. Treated it as if alcohol was included. No alcohol after that. That was, The court says it. But that's the fucking trap, because the lawyer in you wants to go, but it doesn't say that. It says this. That's the fight you want to have, but that's a trap. CPS left it ambiguous. I would argue that they did so intentionally, but you can't really ascribe motive because they want you to fail. They want you to fail those things. And it's wild. But yeah, so again, it's since the hearing that, let's see, we had a hearing on June 7th, I think it was. And then the order came a couple days later. So the judge, typed up the order and issued it out. And once that order came in, the order said that we would submit to drug testing, random drug testing from the county. We did immediately, every single time. We had voluntarily tested before that. The voluntary test was the one where the presence of alcohol was detected, but that wasn't a problem. Again, there wasn't a restriction. So people they make a lot of mountains out of molehills, which is fine, except when you sit there blabbing on about practicing versus non-practicing attorneys and you got the basics of literally every fucking thing wrong. It's just funny because you all staked your credibility on being right without considering the possibility that you weren't. But time will tell, I suppose. Here we go. Horny Hand Grenade says, shout out to my number one, my beautiful dark twisted Fago tree. The Squid says, hey, with a big super chat, thank you. He says, okay, I honestly didn't see a scenario where you might defeat a warrant coming. I know the cops can get a warrant for anything posted on the internet. I hope you succeed, not because I approve of alleged actions, but because the law is unjust. Look, if they got a warrant illegally, they violated my rights, and that should bother all of you. And actually, the circumstances under which they got the warrant should really bother any of you. Any and all of you. Especially because you're having to argue. Right now, you're having to argue that a copy of a video is accurate to justify the police using a copy of a video, but lying and saying it's the original. You're having to argue that to justify someone bashing your door down and raiding your house. And people, because of their weird sort of predisposition, are arguing that that's okay. Like, no, the state should be able to do this. Like, do you listen to yourselves? Do you listen? Do you listen as you sit and argue the state should be able to lie to invade my privacy? And we don't ask much. We don't ask much of these officers. They don't ask the officer to do some in-depth analysis. Like, I've seen some of these screeds on Twitter about the videos, like this deep forensic examination, like all these explanations of all these alternatives. Like, we don't even ask the cops to do that. All we ask the cops to do, this is it. Look, I'm going to tell you all of the analysis the cops have to do. It's tough. Don't lie. That's it. That's all we ask. That's the whole system. All of the warrant system, all of it on earth is just don't lie. And people are like, no, it's fine that they lied. Bro, where on earth do you think that should be okay? Holy fuck. Like, I don't like him, so it's fine that they lied. I hope they don't come knocking, man. It's not pleasant. I really hope they don't come knocking ever on your door because they lied. Because it's an insane proposition. We don't ask them to do this huge verification. We give them tons of leeway. And it says, just don't lie. When you tell the judge what you're asking, just don't lie about it. All the cop had to do was say, well, it's not the original, but like, I have reason to believe ... But he didn't do that. And he can't undo it. He can't go now and go back and be like, well, blah, blah, blah. What? Because the judge, well, I would have still issued. How do you know? You don't know that. At the time, would you have made the same decision? And this is the problem with how warrants work. And so again, if people are sitting there trying to argue about the sufficiency of the video or the whatchamacallit, the how identical or unidentical it is, you're arguing the wrong thing. You're out the gate. You're in the wrong sport. Because the question isn't about if you get into some detailed analysis, and I can make tons of really, really boring technical arguments as to why that's literally not true. And anybody who thinks about it actually can too. But let's ignore that because that's the wrong argument anyway. The sole argument is, did the officer make a material misrepresentation to the court that may have altered the judicial officer's decision in issuing a warrant? And lying and saying you viewed an original video when you actually viewed and knew that you viewed a non-original video is a lie to the judicial officer that may have impacted their decision. Because if the judicial officer goes, but I don't know, and see this again, all they have to do is not lie and tell the judicial officer why they believe it's reliable. That's all they have to do. It's not like, again, we're not asking for some digital forensic breakdown of a video. And I say we in the collective as society, the rules for fucking cops. They don't have to have the cop do this like big explanation. They just have to say why it's fine that it's a copy and just not lie about it being a copy. But they didn't. And then you have to ask why they didn't just tell the truth. And if you're sitting here going, well, they shouldn't have to tell the truth, then I don't know what America you want to live in, man, but it's a fucking scary one. Poe 287, show the difference, fuck face. What is the difference between the videos? Well, one says backwards internet on it. There's the difference. That's the only difference that matters because it's different. Have you gone through every minute of each video? Have you analyzed pixel by pixel? I don't know. But that's not the question. The question is, why didn't the cop just not lie? So if you're stuck in the analysis of arguing over the quality of evidence, you're way in the wrong part of the trial. You're not in the right spot. And I'm sorry that practicing lawyers have misled you into the wrong analysis by not being competent at what they talk about. But they have. They have misled you. They have let you down. They have done so to extract money from you. They have taken their critical ability and said, instead, I want to collect super chats. And that's fine. They can do that. So here we go. But yeah, the squid, you know what? Defeating a warrant is a huge uphill battle. Warrants are broad. Warrants have broad leeway. And again, the only thing we ask is please just don't lie in it. I'll let the motion do the talking. there's something like 6, I think, specific statements we brought in our motion that are provable lies. And they're internal lies. They're lies from the face of the information that is in the warrant. But yeah, that's the thing though, guys. Like that's not, some people are like, oh, it's a Hail Mary pass. This is not a Hail Mary. The Hail Mary is what you throw at the end. This is literally the beginning. This is the first part. This isn't the Hail Mary. This is the other team gets COVID and dies from myocarditis, and you don't have to play because you just win. So anybody out there, oh, is Nick's throwing a Hail Mary? No, guy, if you don't realize that a challenge to the probable cause for a warrant or the probable cause for arrest is like the first part of the game, then you're already being lied to, probably by a practicing attorney though. So an honest doubter says, thoughts on Uncivil's coverage? Good luck, Rackets. Disappointing because Kurt forgot the confrontation clause exists, which is kind of embarrassing because I always tell people that he's like got such a strong mind for the Constitution. He's got very good knowledge of Supreme Court jurisprudence, and he tends to be pretty bright on this stuff. And it was like, Kurt, what are you doing, man? Why don't you read the brief and then look at some of the cases that are cited? Like the answers are in there. But hey, to each their own. Renegade Shuriken says, those wanting the drug test and not realizing you have your kids back are just like the woman who refused to acknowledge the false jobs report numbers. William Jefferson Clinton says, YouTube won't take my super chat. It's tame. So take my $5. Will do, William. Thank you. Thank you very much. Patrick Brannon says, please don't forget that the police are there to protect and serve you, and the judge is there to make sure your rights aren't violated. Yes, I too went to kindergarten in public school. Cheers to that. Oh my fucking hell. Mario Carter 13 says, did you corner the judge in the elevator or do you save that move for the ladies? I literally have no fucking idea what weird story this is. Cornering a judge in an elevator is not something I've ever done. So I'm not sure. There's not even an elevator in our courthouse. Or wait, there is an elevator. It's what the handicap people use sometimes. There's not an elevator that I would be in with a judge in our courthouse because, one, the judges don't walk around in the front court area. They wouldn't take the elevator that's there. And two, I just haven't been in an elevator with the judge since, I think in law school, I might have been in I was in the elevator in law school with the Minnesota Supreme Court Chief Justice, whatever her name was. I don't remember now. She's very nice. She's very kind, but I don't think that's what people are talking about. I'm not sure what story this is, but okay, cool. Lo de Laguna. Hi, Lauren. How you doing? Says, I hope you're well, Nick. I'm doing better and better. Thank you. Hope you're doing well also. Numero uno Josh Denny fan says, where's Ethan, fool? I don't know where Ethan Ralph is. I had lunch with Ralph today. It was nice. Other than that, I haven't seen him since. Let's see. Anime sucks, cope and sneed. Oh, I have to read this one 3 times. He says, I thought Ralph would fight Aaron. Thoughts? Did they fight? I take it they didn't fight. I don't know. I was watching something about it brewing, and then someone said it didn't happen or something, which is, I don't know why anyone expected anything to happen from 2 guys yelling at each other on the internet about fighting. That's a weird thing to me. Like when people do that, they're like, I'm going to fight you on the internet. I'm going to fight you in real life. It's like, I thought we made fun of that a long time ago. I remember being like the I'll fight you IRL bro was a meme, but people now think it's going to happen all the time. I don't know. I guess they didn't fight or did fight. I would assume not. Also, can you finally show this on stream and critique it, please? What the fuck? I don't even know what this is. Ew. No, I don't think I can, but I don't know why, but I hate it. How's that? Also, anime sucks. Cope and Sneed says, I thought Ralph would fight Aaron. Thoughts? No, I think people should really fight all the time. Actually, the best thing to do to resolve issues is to get into physical fist fights, especially over internet, back and forths. That's the best way to do that. Anime sucks. Cope and Sneed says, I thought Ralph would fight Aaron. Thoughts? Look, I don't have any thoughts. Aaron and Ralph are their own men. They can fight each other or not. They can say whatever they want, and I hope they each make $1 million. Kyoto says, if their wrong predictions get them attention and money, are they really losing, though? Depends on what you want to do. They're just letting the mask slip on the game they're really playing. Let's see. Lefty Lol says, glad to see everything is turning around for you, buddy. We'll get that round of golf in someday. Lol. No fucking kidding, man. No fucking kidding. Deus Ex Machina Prime gives a 20. Thank you. I appreciate that. Horny Hand Grenade says, Nick, a couple years ago, I was threatened to have my arm broken by a cop for resisting when I wasn't. He found baggies of coke on me, but can I sue? You could try. You can. The answer to can you sue? Yes. The answer to is it profitable? Is it likely? Are you going to get a good outcome? I doubt it, man. I really doubt it. It's tough, but it's going to depend on the facts of your case. What you got to do, though, is you have to find a specialist, a specialist in police brutality, in police violence, and go in there. They get broad leeway in saying that you're resisting when, man, it's amazing how hard it is to not resist when someone grabs your arms and puts them behind your back. It's amazing how difficult that is. Strong recommend, if I may, that if you are being arrested, that you put your own hands behind your back rather than have the officer do it for you, because your tendency is to have, when someone pulls your arm back like this, your muscles up here, even weak ones like mine, will tense up and make it feel like you're resisting the pull that's coming behind you. They can't feel what you feel in your shoulder. So if you put your hands behind you voluntarily, it's much less likely that they're going to say that you're resisting arrest. It's not always your option, but when you can do that, if you're being arrested, try and comply. It's not, fighting the cops is not the thing to do. You're going to lose. So it sucks. But hey, that's how it goes. Go for Big Guy 911 says the police were just showing you their neighborliness and that they care. Sincerely, fear tubby Tim Walls. Ew. Tim Walls is the worst. Anthony Zappin says $5 for your disciplinary lawyer fund. You're done, bro. Keep running your mouth and opening up the correcting misinformation exception, the ongoing investigation exception for releasing body cam. Yeah, I love your read of that. I think you miss what that exception is for, but I'll let you figure it out. The funny thing is, you've seen those exceptions, and it's not spurgs on a forum that they're trying to correct. But keep going with that exception. I'm sure Joshua Moon has it right. Chichunia says, just wanted to say hi. Hey, what's up, Chichunia? Just started watching right now. I've missed seeing you live. Love you, Nick. Hey, love you back. Thanks for watching. Citizen M says, Aaron said April snatch stinks. Is that true? Look, that guy can say whatever he wants. He's his own person, and I hope he makes $1 million. Arclight says, does Ralph eat like a pig in real life? No, he eats like a person. Eric Pepe says, here's money. What's a Frank's challenge? All right. So we can get into it. Frank's challenge. A Frank's challenge is a challenge to a warrant. To statements in a warrant. So again, the low bar that we expect of police officers who are affiants. People may forget this. They are affiants, which means they're offering their testimony to a judicial officer under oath. Minnesota Reporter, for clarity, didn't the prosecution agree to not use April's testimony if she doesn't testify, but wouldn't agree to not show the rest of the footage? Actually, I'm not sure how to answer that statement with 100% accuracy on the second part. So I'll answer the first question that you asked because I can answer that one very succinctly. Yes, if April testifies, it is possible that they would use those statements. If April does not testify, they wouldn't use the statements. The reason for that is simple. I cannot raise someone else's Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights in my defense. However, the Confrontation Clause to the Constitution states that I have a right to confront anyone with a statement against me, which means I have to be able to call that person to the stand and confront them. The issue here is that April has Fifth and Sixth Amendment, primarily Fifth Amendment now, or 14th and Fifth Amendment, but 14th and Fifth Amendment rights to her own defense, which means I can't pierce her Fifth Amendment rights. I can't do it, which means that I can't cross-examine her if it would implicate her Fifth Amendment rights, which means I have a confrontation clause issue now because I can't cross-examine her on the statements that she would be making or that would be using against me. If she would be testifying, she would have to waive those Fifth Amendment rights in some way, probably through some sort of plea or immunity or something like that, and then potentially testify. But there's a lot of steps there. There's a whole lot of steps between that happening. But in the meanwhile, you have to assert your confrontation clause rights early and often. As for the second part and what the prosecutor did or did not specifically say in regards to using body cam footage, I'm not going to pin down their words on that one because I have a legal interest in the case and I don't want to misrepresent what was said in that respect. Because I also don't fully know exactly what she said, and I'm not going to be quoted on. I'm not going to be the one quoted. I'll let the court transcript do the talking on that one. So where were we? We've got, we were talking about Frank's challenges. So Frank's challenge is a challenge to specific statements made by an officer under oath, made by an affiant under oath to a judicial officer for the purposes of getting a warrant. Okay. So again, all we really ask of officers is that they don't lie. There's all sorts of reasons officers they don't have to prove their case. They just have to get to probable cause. They can use inadmissible things. They can use hearsay. They can use all sorts of stuff. They can use feelings and intuition and training and experience. They can use all of that shit to build up what's called a totality of the circumstances that says they are more likely than not to find evidence of a particular crime in a particular place at a particular time. And they ask the judge for permission to do that as a requirement of the Fourth Amendment to make the search reasonable. Okay. All they have to do is get to probable cause that they will find evidence of a particular criminal act at a particular place and a particular time. That's what they have to do. And they get huge leeway to do it. The one thing we ask is that in doing this, we give you all this room, all the room in the world to work. Just don't lie. Just don't lie. Just don't lie. Hey, just don't lie. Here's how crazy it is. A person who you don't know comes up to the officers and says, hey, I have heard that that person right there, who I have no connection to, is routinely abusing and beating their children or whatever. Like they say that. The officer's like, well, that's crazy. And then they start looking around, and then they find other things to kind of see if they're going to find any evidence of that. And like, who knows what it's going to be? Videos, it could be bruised children. It could be, and maybe the person just saw the child walking, looking solemn, and had a bruise on their face and their arm or whatever. And then they say, they heard some like sort of tussling. They heard raised voices or whatever. And the child came out with these bruises on them, and they believe that they're beating children or whatever. And maybe they're running a fight club, an illegal fight club for kids. Who knows? But someone out of nowhere can say that. And a cop can go, this person, because they don't know the other person, has no interest. They're just a concerned citizen worried about the children. They're going to go ahead and use that as part of the basis for their search warrant request. And we go, well, but that's insane. This person doesn't know them. They've never been in their house. They didn't actually witness anything. They heard a scuffle. They saw a result. And they don't know that actually what the kids are doing was playing Dance Dance Revolution, and they were laughing about something and they fell and they got bruised. Who knows, right? And they investigate it. They execute the search warrant, find nothing, whatever. Oh, no harm, no foul. That's not true, but that's what they do. They have all this leeway to do that, where someone can make some anonymous report, and their very anonymity is some sort of reliability, because they must be just doing it out of genuine concern. Now, that person could be a crackpot, but if the cop doesn't know they're a crackpot, it's fine. However, what if the person is literally a crackpot, known to the officer to be insane or to be an over-reporting Karen, for example? The officer says, I get 4 of these reports a week from this person about different people around town that they've never met. They just think everybody's abusing children all the time. They then have a duty to tell the judge, hey, judge, I want to do a search warrant about this abuse, but this person's kind of weird. They've reported 4 people in the past month. None of those have panned out. We're not really sure what's going on, but I have reason to believe that this one's okay. And the judge is going to go, give me more, give me whatever it is. Give me more about why I should believe this person, or have you corroborated anything? Maybe. Or the judge is going to go, you know what? Really worried about the kids. Go for it. All they asked, though, was that if the cop knew the person is a crackpot, they say it. Just say they're a crackpot so the judge can make the fucking decision with all of the information. If the cop knows the person's a crackpot, but they don't tell the judge that, you have to ask why. Why wouldn't you just say it? Because maybe you don't have enough if that person's a crackpot. And if that's the case, then that's a violation of the rights, and you're just asking a judge to sign it. So anyway, all we really ask is that they don't lie. The Franks challenge says they lied here and here and here and here. And because of these lies, the warrant was issued incorrectly. And it's not the judge's fault, because the judge is relying on the officer to report truthfully the reasons for the warrant. So if the officer lies and the judge relies on it, we don't blame the judge, because the judge's job is to rely on the officer's truthful statements. And that's why the only fucking thing is just don't lie. So Frank's challenge is just a challenge to any of those statements. It says they're a lie, and says that lie is material. Now, if they make some misrepresentation that has nothing to do with issuing the search warrant, then, oh well, that sucks. But did it, if they change that, if they get rid of that line, does the search warrant still issue? If so, I mean, if it doesn't have any bearing on it, like they might just say, well, this guy's here's an easy one. The guy's 55 years old, but really the guy's just a hard 45, like he's like, haha, he's 55 years old. Well, like, what does him being 55 versus 45 have to do with the issuance of the warrant? Probably nothing. The guy got his age wrong. Maybe he typoed it. Maybe he intentionally got it wrong. Maybe just thought he was older. Doesn't matter. That representation probably not going to matter. I'm sure there's a case where it would, but the idea is that alone, like they lied once, is not enough to overturn a warrant. They have to lie in material ways that are to the issuance of the warrant. And that's what the Franks challenge is for. It's Franks versus Delaware is the case. Maybe we should go through it some point. But I should probably wait about 16 days for that. All right. Nice to Lizard says, not a matter of loyalty to me. We are all sinners here, including those who are quick to throw stones. To them I say, pray that you are not judged. I just say, really, I just pray that everyone's rights are fucking respected. Because it's really not much to ask our government to respect our rights. Like it's not. And I've seen some people out there talking about like crazy theories about rights or whatever, like crazy expectations. And it's like, no, just honestly, the really basic ones of just follow the rules. Like the Fourth Amendment exists. And if we go, well, it doesn't matter now because X, Y, Z, it's like, well, no, it always matters. And it should always matter because it's one of the few things that keeps us from a fucking tyranny. Brooke Miller says it's because we were all told in school to trust police, government, lawyers, no offense, or maybe some. Oh, all the offense, please. And it's insane the amount of people who've never seen that power misused times 10,000. Yeah, but even people who see it directly, they see it and they see it and they see it. And it really, you have to see it hit home. It has to hit people at home before they understand a lot of times. Netflutter says, how dare you put up a defense? Oh, that's a fun one. Wanting the best for you and the family. Admit to everything. Hoping for the best. For real, though. God bless your family. Thanks, brother. I really appreciate that. Yeah, a bunch of people who are like, immediately, they're like, admit to everything. And I'm like, admit to what? Like, you don't even know actually the circumstances of the charges because especially at the time, I didn't either. It's like, admit to all this stuff. It's like, I don't even know what they claim that I did. Like, I know the general part, but we're talking about specifics here, folks. Like, if someone accuses you of something generally versus if someone says you did this and this and this specific thing, you go, wait, but I didn't do those specific things. I didn't do that at all. That really matters. The people are like, admit to everything. I'm like, they haven't even accused me yet. What am I supposed to? I don't even know what I'd be admitting to. These are lawyers. These are practicing attorneys trying to give me advice before discovery. And I'm like, what do you guys, first of all, you're not my attorneys. Second of all, like, why are you telling me what to do? You don't even know the facts. Like, I don't even know them yet. I don't know what the state's even alleging. Like, you gotta solve this. Like, solve it. Like, fuck. Like, practicing attorneys. Relatively Objective says, hey, Nick, been way thong. All right. Since Rittenhouse. Oh, watching. Probably a text-to-speech thing. Been watching since Rittenhouse, but first super chat. Thank you. Can you do a short TLDR of Legal Mindset's claim? I saw his stream. It seemed like his claim was that you were trying to suppress court video. Again, if anyone thinks I'm trying to suppress court video. Oh, does he mean when we opposed the request to record the pretrial hearings that there's a rule that says you can't record them? Yeah. Yeah, we did oppose that. So, I mean, there's a specific rule that says that these things can't be broadcast or recorded. And so all we did was say, yeah, let's just enforce the rule there, Judge. And there are reasons for the rule, and those reasons were laid out in the motion. But I did see, well, if you want to see someone with no integrity. So there was a pedophile on Kiwi Farms who requested, I think they requested the search warrant data. They're like one of the first search warrant data requests. And again, they're a pedophile on Kiwi Farms, been on Kiwi Farms forever, open and notorious pedophile since 2019. Has a child pornography charge and or a conviction, child pornography conviction, and some other horrific shit that they were at least charged with. I don't know the exact disposition of that, but yeah, kind of a whatever. They were one of the first people to request stuff in my case, and we brought that up because part of the rule exists to protect minors who may be involved in a case. And, considering that I had children in the house who were taken away by the state temporarily, there are minors involved in the case. So all we asked the judge to do was enforce the rule. But we brought up this weird pedophile because they were the first person to request it. It's like, hey, judge, the rule exists in part for this reason, and here's why, right? Because look at how this works out. And Legal Mindset's theory, because he has integrity and because he's smart, he asserted that it was possible or maybe even likely, I believe, that I colluded with the pedophile who, by the way, if you go read the posts on Kiwi Farms, is not a fan of me at all, but that I colluded with this person to go back in time, that while I'm like, I might have still been in jail. If I wasn't, it was like right when I had gotten out, that I somehow got them to make this request, anticipating someone trying to get the trial footage stream so that I could then put it in a motion to argue later. And that theory from Legal Mindset is almost as retarded as his eyes. And almost as bitch made as his limp. But that's the quality of analysis you get from a practicing attorney who had to take a passport because he couldn't have sex in America anymore. Why don't American women like me? I'm going to go to Thailand or whatever, where the gender is ambiguous and the dicks don't matter. Let's see. Marshall Harrison, guitarist, supporting you in yours 100%. Thank you. Very much. Just shocking how many LawTube friends couldn't wait to even hear your side before trashing you. Despicable. Never asked anybody, again, I've never asked anybody to be loyal. Never asked anybody to be uncritical. I expressed, again, some lament because people who know me personally utilize that knowing me personally thing to try and get clout on their analysis or their opinions, openly, by the way, and didn't do me the courtesy of actually speaking to the character of the person they actually have met and talked to on numerous occasions. But hey, them's the ropes. Brooke Miller says deja vu to Elaine. So you're not board certified? Adrian Robledo says, I don't really get all the people interested on this topic when there are two wars, a possible Maduro deposal and Mossad murking someone in Iran. Hey, you know what? There are things you can sometimes comprehend, and then there's the Middle Eastern conflict. And then there's my situation, which is worse. Postman Matt says, Kurt said the confrontation clause is only for co-conspirators. I'm assuming that you wouldn't agree with that assessment. No. No, I wouldn't. And neither would the prosecutor. And neither would the case law. But Kurt's free to disagree all he wants. Like I said, that was the first thing. That was the first thing we did in court today, was go in, and the prosecutor and my lawyer discussed that issue and resolved it by agreeing with our analysis. There you go. So whatever, and look, I don't believe me. I don't ever fault a lawyer for getting something wrong. Maybe you don't know. Maybe the judge surprises you. I've said this a million times. But at some point, you just go, I've seen you do better than this. Okay. What am I going to do? Like, go out and chat? How dare you? How dare you? It's just like, okay. It's a gamble, man. You know, like that's kind of the interesting thing, stepping outside myself, which is difficult. But stepping outside myself and looking in, you go, all right, so when one of your fellow creators or whatever engages in something, or I shouldn't say engages, is engaged in something that is massively controversial, and there's a bunch of ways to go. A lot of creators, I'll tell you straight out, do an analysis. And they go, where did the chips fall on this? Where does my audience fit on the issues? What kind of positions have I taken in the past? And despite the fact that so many of them are flat fucking retards. Hi, Flash. How's it going, man? Oh, you fucking idiot. Despite the fact that some of them are flat fucking retarded. Oh, hey, Flash, I wonder why you're biased towards the state, buddy. Why would that be? Despite that some of them are flat fucking flash tarded. They're very savvy at the business that they're in. They're very, very savvy and conscious in their decisions. This is the one thing that's really bothered me about every fucking stupid community I've been a part of, from IBS, The Sector, through Comicsgate, through non-Comicsgate, through the anime shit, through LawTube and that faggotry, and these just shit people all over the place. There, so many of them are just sitting there. They're calculating, conniving little opinion factories with none of their own. And you can watch it because their opinions are malleable based on who the subject is and what their audience thinks about the subject of the opinion before the contents of the opinion. And you'll notice that the consistency between the issues that they're talking about evaporates when the subject is friendly or a foe. Right? Dr. Disrespect lovers. I don't care about to cheer him till Dr. Disrespect's talking to him. They did Doc dirty. They did him wrong. He admitted to it. But anyway, that consistency goes right in the fucking gutter. Because while they're very calculated people in how they extract money, they're not thoughtful people. And again, if any of you think Yellow Flash is a thoughtful person, I just implore you to listen to him for more than 35 seconds. And you can dispel that notion immediately. But hey, all these people are just giving my honest opinion. Whatever it is. Oh my God. It's a shame, really. But all of these sectors, all of these little groups, all of this, they're typically a couple good people in them. And then there are the people who are just waiting to spoon feed the opinion to the paying audience, specifically to the paying audience. And yeah, it's a real fucking shame. It's a real fucking shame. Twisted Life says, oh, wait, I know this one. Streamer friends who are just there for clout and don't care about you personally. Yep, I get that. Yeah, and it's disappointing because, again, you know that happens. You know it happens. You get used to seeing it happen. But then there are people that you meet and you hang out with a lot. Like you see them at several events. You make a point to spend time with them and hang out because you have a good time. It's like, oh, cool. I get to see this person that I get to see like once or twice a year. And like, you develop a real like friendship with them. And then you find out that they're just in it. They're just the same. Just the same as everyone else. And you go, oh, that's sad. I don't know how to be that way. Tony Ravioli says, never know who your real friends are till this shit happens. Yeah. It's crazy. So, okay. On to more of what happened at court today. So we raised the Franks challenge in our motion. We also challenged the seizure of the firearms. I'm going to let the motion do most of the talking. I mean, granted, you haven't gotten good analysis of it that I've seen anywhere, but hey, sorry, I can't really do the analysis for my own case, which sucks because my case is wildly fucking interesting. But I can't do the analysis. This is one that kind of, I obviously don't want it to be happening to me just on principle, but I want to be on the sidelines reporting on this case because it's fucking wild. If you take a step back from it and you're not just in it trying to, get your crucify berries or whatever it is. If you actually take a step back and analyze the case, there's so much to it that is fucked up and there's more to come. But again, time and place. But I can't do that. I can't do that analysis. I would love to. But because it's my own case, I'm self-interested. One, people should have some level of distrust for whatever I say because it'll obviously be lensed and biased towards me. Obviously going to do that. I can't undo that. One, in my own legal interest, I can't undo that. Two, it's impossible to divorce yourself entirely from the situation. So I can't do the analysis. But if you read, there's the Franks challenge, and the second part is the seizure of the firearms. And that one's pretty fucking interesting because it's another one of those questions of, we give you all the leeway in the world. All we do is ask you to do one thing, and that's to make your seizure warrants say what you're taking. And if you have to take something else because you find something else that you think might be part of a different crime, you just have to get another warrant unless there's a valid exception to the warrant requirement. Fourth Amendment is simple. Any search is presumptively unreasonable, and people are to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. Warrants make searches presumptively reasonable. You have to have probable cause and a warrant, or probable cause and a valid exception to the warrant requirement to engage in any search or seizure. A warrant makes a seizure presumptively reasonable. But warrants for seizures have particularity requirements that are more narrow than those of searches. For searches, you have all sorts of things. You have a plain view exception. You have all these ways that a search can occur in the moment. Seizures, the exception for a seizure is, I have to take this because if I don't take this now, if I don't take this thing now, the evidence is likely to become corrupted or destroyed or go somewhere. That's why they can usually seize something out of a car. Cars move. Or a package in the mail, like the U.S. Postal Service. If they're inspecting a package, they can search and typically seize what's in them without a warrant because mail moves and it's small and it's concealable. If they find evidence of what they believe to be a crime, that is outside of the scope of a particularized warrant, then they have to either just get another warrant for the seizure of other items, or they have to come up with an exception to the warrant requirement that exists at the time of the warrant's of the seizure's execution. In our case, they seized what they alleged to be firearms that they alleged that I own, and they did so outside of the scope of the warrant. The warrant doesn't mention firearms in the slightest. Not at all. And so we have to ask, okay, so then if they wanted to seize the firearms, they should get a warrant that says they can seize the firearms. All they have to do is ask a judge. We know they can get a warrant in 4 minutes. We know that. They can get a warrant in 4 minutes. So they can just ask a judge to issue a warrant to seize the firearms. We know that I was arrested. Lady Rackets was arrested. Miss April was arrested. And our children were removed from the property. They were put in the care of family temporarily. And that the police officers had secured the property. So there's no way that those firearms are leaving the property. None. And yet, they didn't secure a warrant for the seizure. So then we ask why. And the question why is the scariest question for every government official ever. Because they just do. Government officials just do. And when they're forced to ask why they did something, they go, oh, fuck. Wait, I have to explain it? It's like, well, yeah, there are rules. Oh, well, but what if I don't want to explain it? Or what if I can't explain it? Or what if the explanation is bad? And because we have rights, we get to assume that the government is tyrannical, that the government is actually oppressive, and that the government is actually able to leverage the police state against you. And that's not a crazy principle. It's the founding principle. So we raised that issue. Now, what ended up happening at court was rather anticlimactic, like I said. The state asked for extra time because they wanted to respond by written brief. Now, they don't always do this. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they would argue it there, sometimes not. They asked for time. The judge granted them time. They get to respond in, I think, 9 days. And then we get something like 5 days after that to respond with our response to their reply. So our reply to their response. So they get to respond to our motion in writing. And here's what happens next. The judge should be ruling on the 2 remaining issues in the motion. One, the Franks hearing. And again, the goal of the filing of the motion that we made is to ask the court for a Franks hearing where the court will do the analysis. The purpose of our filing is to make a prima facie showing that a Franks hearing is required. I believe we have done that pretty fucking well. If we get the judge to agree to that, that doesn't mean we win the motion. It means that we get the hearing. And then at the hearing, we would challenge the parts of the warrant with I guess, more scrutiny, and the state would respond. The seizure issue is a separate issue and may be resolved by hearing or may just be resolved on the filings. If the seizure issue is successful and they find that the guns were seized unconstitutionally, then we would move to strike the guns as any sort of evidence. And that should have a pretty obvious effect on the case. But it's today ended up being very quick. It could have been more in depth, but the state chose to respond in writing. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there who may try and do some prognostication or whatever, some spitballing on what that means. Let me just spell it out very simply. If the state thought that they could win at oral argument today because the motion is so bad and the legal reasoning is so out there, they would have just done it. Because there is nothing stopping the state from having their argument today and just saying, Your Honor, this is ridiculous. This isn't the standard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's nothing that prevented the state from doing that. Instead, the state chose to take it up on briefing. And that does not mean that the state thinks they have a weak case or that we're going to win or mud stomp them or whatever. But again, there's some sensationalists out there expressing an opinion that that the legal arguments were so horrifically stupid and terrible that they shouldn't even be made. And those retards were obviously wrong. And that's just shown that the state is going to take and brief it rather than just dismiss it. Now, the state, again, they could have just walked in and said, Your Honor, this isn't how Franks works. This is a non-practicing lawyer. Throw the book at him and also put him in prison and also kill him. Like they could do that, right? Maybe in Korea or Thailand or something. But instead, they chose to actually have to engage the arguments. I remember that third one, that Fifth and Sixth Amendment one, we were so wrong on. But yeah, so now we just have to wait for the filings to go through, and this case gets to take a fuckload longer automatically. And the train fucking chugs along, dude. And that's what's rough about this process. It's a fucking millstone around your neck, and you're trying to swim in the ocean. There's no floor that you can touch. And every time that you go in, every time your lawyer shows up in court, every time they write a motion, every time the government sends you something, every time the government asks for more time in another hearing, government asks for whatever, that's the government getting paid, and that's you paying. And they don't care. They don't give a shit. You're under their thumb and they're happy about it. And that's the system you're in. And you don't get to fight. Like, again, you can try fighting. You can try yelling and screaming outside the courthouse. You're going to go on your YouTube channel and profess your innocence and, they're all going to, nope. They won't matter a fucking lick except for what you do in court. Won't matter at all. And for them, it doesn't ever have to. Because a bunch of people will be like, it's good government did that over and over and over. And all people like me can think is, my God, how fucking lost we are. And also, I hope you never need a defense attorney. Let's see. Riley Us Leifson says, I'm so glad you have true, solid friends like Joe. Good logic. He's good and real as they come. 100. Yeah, Joe's awesome. You're looking good, man. We're pulling for you and the fam. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Joe's always been a very good friend, and I really like him. I hope to talk to him soon. I've been wanting to stream with him, but my streaming schedule hasn't synced up with his. Twisted Life says, if it doesn't go along with their narrative, they will drop you like you never existed. Had it done over and over. Nice to Lizards says, for the whole week that LawTube was going well, Rittenhouse era, I cringed with dread because I knew the reality check would come. It always does. Hey, you know what? Me too. Me too. You know when I knew the reality check would come? When people asked for money. Hey, what about some of those super chats? Okay, it's over. Get out. Go form a partnership or something. I'm out. Death Trout says, I just hope you get through this quickly so you can get back to being funny and screaming about sandwiches. Best you and the family. Oh, I had a good sandwich. A fucking good sandwich. Was that yesterday? God, it's good. It was just a normal sandwich. It was my normal sandwich. 3 slices of bread, peanut butter, butter, grape jelly. But the bread was good. It's all fucking carbs and sugar. But man, that's a comfort food for me. And I was just, Vaz Kalma says, we all saw the meltdown stream, big guy. You had white powder all over your nose. Continuing to gaslight everyone is why everyone hates you now. I haven't gaslit anyone. That's the weird thing. People keep saying I'm making claims about one thing or another, but I'm not making any claims about anything. Like, look at him denying this or admitting that or saying it's this. I'm not actually doing any of that. I haven't done it. I haven't commented on it. I haven't. In fact, so here's what gaslighting is. Gaslighting is the attempt through rhetoric or language or whatever to convince someone that what they know to be true is not true, or that what they know to be not true is true. Okay? To falsely convince someone of that, not just persuade them to what a true thing is, but to falsely persuade them into believing that which they know to be the opposite. I'm pretty sure the thing I have consistently said is, man, it really sucks that I don't get to tell my side of the story. And people will judge me based on the one side of the story that comes out. That fucking sucks, but that's the way it goes because it can't yet tell the full story. Can't do it. And I just have to deal with that. And I just have to sit there and fucking suck it up and realize that some people are going to take a negative impression. And I probably, for many people, will never be able to convince them, even if I show them proof, which I will at some point here, show them proof that what they believed about a situation is wrong. Even if I show them proof, they still won't take it. I have to accept that that's the fucking price that you have to pay. You have to wait. You don't get to talk. I've never told people to believe some other thing. I've never asked them to do anything else. I've said, you know what? People are going to make these determinations about you. And God, that sucks, man. That shit really fucking sucks, especially this stuff I know to be untrue. But I don't get to bring that out, and I can't hold that against people. And I don't. I know how it goes. I know how this shit works. I've been around a bit. But hey, that's been my message from the start. Go back to the first fucking streams I did after the arrest. Go look at it from the fucking start. That's been it. I can't tell you the whole story yet. I hope to one day do that. You know, hopefully not from prison or whatever. You're gaslighting. You're trying to convince. No, I've done the opposite of trying to convince people of anything. I can't. I can't talk about it in that way. It's wild. Marquis Dena says, did you find out who reported you to CPS? Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. That's the amazing thing. That's the amazing thing. Is that, eventually, I think people who thought that they were like anonymous or whatever, like you're not anonymous forever, generally speaking, in these things, like, cause like they do have to tell me stuff, right? So yeah, I can't do anything about it. Like a thing happened. But yeah, I know who did it. Sucks. It really sucks because it was lies. And they knew it was lies. And that really fucking hurts. Oh, and yeah, I can prove it. So, yeah. But it's cool. It's fine. Patrick Brannon says, we should try a new system, which if you were found not guilty, the prosecutor has to serve the time they were trying to pin you with. Yep. Mikey P78 says, Rip Kentaro Miura. Who's that? He's not, that guy is still alive. Akira Toriyama and Old Nose Man on a New Beginnings. Miss you and all the old streams. Praying for you and the family, brother. Peace, peace. Hey, believe me, I miss the old streams too. Matt Skinner says, can we get a ride? Can we get rid of the word gaslighting and just use the term lying? Also, I wish you and your family well. It's a little different than lying. It's slightly different. I hate the term. I hate it because gaslighting is someone once asked me to describe gaslighting. I said, well, it's how women win arguments. Not by gaslighting, but by claiming you're gaslighting. But that was just a joke. But gaslighting is a little bit different than lying. Like a lie is you just lie about something. Gaslighting is you use some way to convince someone of the lie without doing it directly. Usually, that's at least kind of how I see it. There's a distinction, but I hate the concept because people just claim gaslighting, and then that's like, oh, I win the argument now because you're gaslighting. It's like, well, I'm not actually it's not how that works. Koof says, for entertainment's sake, wouldn't it benefit everyone if you walked free so they can tell your side, so that you can tell your side? You can't say much behind bars. Look, the likelihood of being in jail, like to actually being behind bars, is extremely low in my case, just because of the way Minnesota does sentencing. Even if I were to go to trial and lose, the likelihood of going to jail or prison for an extended amount of time is low. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. It's just not a high likelihood. Just in any sort of normal analysis of the likely outcome, Minnesota has sentencing guidelines. Those guidelines are pretty damn specific on how sentencing is done, and deviating from those guidelines requires reasons, either upwards or downward deviations. So you can predict with relative accuracy what you're actually facing. Now, a lot can change, right? There could be additional charges that aren't brought yet, or there could be charges that are dropped, or things can be changed to different degrees, et cetera, et cetera. All of that stuff is in the realm of possibility, but the likelihood of going to jail or prison, even if I go to trial and lose, is low. So I don't think I'll be behind bars, which is nice. That's a nice thing to know. BTM Reviews says, veto rules, Camelot, 331 drools. All these law tubers are the worst. Keep it up, good man. George Lopez says, how dare you mount a reasonable defense using all methods to prove your innocence? Just wait till Judge Ligma hears about this. Also, can the feds try and super chat to dig for info from you with government funds? It'd be really interesting. That's an interesting question. I think the first answer is yes. Federal government they do digital sting operations all the time. It's how they catch people in various types of trafficking schemes, either weapons trafficking, drug trafficking, or human trafficking. A lot of that is done over various messenger style applications or public chat rooms and stuff like that. So we know that the government can engage in that type of sort of conversation for the purposes of getting information. When you start adding government funds into it, and the initiation of the conversation, you start getting into entrapment questions that are much, much more complicated. And I don't know I'm sure there's case law around some of it, but I don't know of any specific case law into entrapment involving the usage of government funds to solicit specific responses from someone during live streams. And maybe like a Cameo. Imagine if they used Cameo to get you to make some sort of admission or something like that. Or like an OnlyFans request. There's all sorts of ways that the government could engage in various things like this using government funds, but they get to use government funds to do stuff. Like they do sting drug buys and stuff like that, sting weapon buys. They even do sting people buys to bust prostitution rings and things like that. So I would imagine they could, but I'm not sure of the implications around it or the rules, or that they're very developed yet. That's a fascinating fucking question. That sounds like an interview. I got to find someone who knows that answer for an interview. 808 Snickers says, hey, Nick, glad to see you live. I think you mean live. I should read that as glad to see you live. I pray for you and your family. Thank you very much. Fake friends always show themselves when you need them most. Dismiss them. Oh, don't worry. That's done. Man, That's the whole thing. When you're in the water and there's a bunch of people in the life raft and 9 of the people turn you down and one of them holds their hand out and they pull you into the life raft. Like when you get to shore, those 9 people aren't coming over for dinner. Like, fuck them. But sometimes that's what you have to do, man. Like, you could be a generous person. You can be a welcoming person. I've always been a guy who just likes to get along with people. I like to hang out. I like to have fun. I don't like life to be as serious as people try to make it all the fucking time. And I really just try to be a decent dude. Like, I know, believe me, I can hear it from here, but no, I really always just try to be decent to people. And, generally am quite decent to people. But there are times when people say fuck you enough that you go, all right, peace. Like, bye, I guess. Holy shit. Sanglant says a mandated cobbler. Lol. Dude, I hope it's apple cobbler. Sangland also says, Ricadala, remember when you're going through hell, keep going. Yeah, don't stay. Espresso D, have they tested and weighed the alleged coke yet? I can't talk about that stuff. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it. Sorry, those are the types of details that have to remain quiet for now. Matt Skinner says, please refer to me by special agent. Not FBI. Good logic is amazing. Love his channel. He's had your back the whole way. I know. Jim Satala says, I would really appreciate it if you could give this channel a sub. It's just starting out, needs 1,000 subs to get monetized. Thank you. And then it's for a YouTube channel. Jim Tells You. Oh yeah, Jim Tells You. Guys, Jim, if you want to share that link in the YouTube chat and or the Rumble chat, please do so. Guys, check out Jim Tells You on YouTube. Jim Satala, been a friend of the show for a very, very long time. DS says, lol, hurt as your kids seeing you spiraling out. Let me say something real quick. I've said this a million times, and I don't know if I can say it enough. Actually, I know I can't, but I'm going to try because I am a messenger to the people, a prophet of the YouTube gods. Look, I don't care how much a streamer is streaming. I don't care how much you watch of them. No matter what you think, you are looking through a porthole and trying to describe the inside of a massive ship. You see a window into people's lives, and that's fine. But please stop pretending that you know what those lives are like when you're not looking through the porthole, because you don't. You don't. Much has been said maliciously and falsely about things people have said about me or in regards to me in my cases that have been made public. And a bunch of people say, well, how couldn't people see X, Y, or Z? How could no one see X? Maybe what you should ask is, how could no one see what you think you saw? It's possible, maybe, that what you think is happening is actually not. It's happening up here for you, which is, that's something only you can deal with. But what you think you see is not what's actually happening. And that the people around who can't seem to see the same thing you see, they didn't see it because it's not what you thought. It's just possible that when you're looking at someone through a computer screen in a very particular environment for a couple hours a week, that you don't actually know what their lives are like outside of those couple hours. It might just be that way. Especially if everything that you read, especially if all of the things that you end up coming out disagree with your perception of reality, then it's possible that your perception of reality is, through no fault of your own, not accurate. And again, that's fine, man. Streamers are ridiculous people. I know me. I've met me. I am a fucking walking bowl of chaos sometimes. But I'm also not a walking bowl of chaos most of the time. Most of the time, I'm just a dad and husband and a guy who hangs out with people or goes to dinner. And if you think it's well, I saw that guy drunk on a live stream, that means he's drunk all the time. It's bro, what world do you live in? What life do you realize? And then you go, wait, why isn't anybody else testifying to this? Why in none of the testimony have we seen anybody say Nick was drunk all the time, at all times, stumbling around at every event, can't find him not drunk? Why does that never come out? Does it not confuse people? It should confuse you if you think that that's what's going on, and it just never matches reality. And the funny thing is, those people who, again, utilize some sort of their proximity to me to try and build credibility. And when they start making claims oh, Nick is like this or that, or this, and then when the evidence comes out, when it comes down to the testimony, and they can't find a single person, to testify to what you quote unquote know to be true, maybe it wasn't true. Maybe someone utilized their clout to lie to you for money, to make you think something so that you would pay them. Maybe someone did that. I'll just humbly suggest, because guys, I tell you what, when you have a child custody case, the state can interview people to get any information they want, and they don't even have to tell you who they interview. You don't know that they're interviewing them. You don't know who it is. You don't get to say, actually, that person doesn't know me. I haven't seen this person in 5 years. And when it came down to it, and the state had the opportunity to put any of these people up and say, Nick Rekieta is a degenerate, nasty, horrible person on all of this stuff, they found 0 people who could do it. 0. And if the legal experts can't figure out why they could find 0 people to do that, why the Nick Rekieta that they swear that they've represented to you as must be this way, we all know Nick is like this, and not a single person would sit down and testify to it. Why is that? Look, I've been told I'm very small and very narrow, so I'm not physically intimidating. I certainly haven't bullied my way into making people not talk, and they can talk. They can have anybody come up, and the state is just begging for someone to say this shit, and they can't do it. Why is that? Maybe they lied to you. Maybe they consistently lie because what they saw was an opportunity. They saw an opportunity to take your money into their pockets because they thought you were spending it wrong, or that you would want to hear this something, sensationalize a story that they don't actually know. Huh, we've all seen Nick do that. You haven't seen anything beyond a fucking sandwich. You don't know me. You don't know shit about me. And yet, again, everything that they've said has not come true, because you'd think they'd be able to produce one person. One person. Do you guys know? Do you realize that all of the coverage of my transcripts and everything that's come out, they haven't been able to put one person, no testimony, that I even drink. Like, I drink on the show, right? Like, that's obvious. I drink on the show. I don't right now, obviously. Before someone decides that that's a thing, I have a fucking drug patch test for alcohol. But anyway, I would drink on the show. That much is obvious. But they couldn't find anybody out there to testify about me being intoxicated off of my show. Not one person. Why is that? I mean, I've heard that I literally can't live without liquor, that I'm constantly drunk. Like, I've heard all these things, and yet none of it manifests. And believe me, the state in a child custody case would love to show that. They would love to show it. And all these guys who are sitting there telling you about me and telling you about my case, none of them have pointed that fact out, have they? We haven't seen any testimony from anyone saying, you know what, Nick was drunk at this thing. They can't. They can't do it. It's amazing. But it's funny. So this is all just responding like, lol, heard is your kids seeing you spiraling out. Yeah, maybe, just maybe, you don't actually know what goes on inside the house of someone just because you watch a live stream. It's not a criticism of you. It really isn't. But some people, the live streaming world is fun when you, especially when you talk about it with other streamers, because you go, some people kind of need to take a fucking step back. Like, you are watching a show. You're watching a show, and at some level, we're all performing something. Now, a lot of people, like, I try to be pretty fucking honest and open about it. That's the amazing thing. I'm people like, Nick lied about who he is. Never. Like, guys, I told you all the degenerate shit I was doing. Like, I told you about it. People are like, Nick misrepresented. Like, oh my God, no. Like, hilarious. Like, I just telling you about life, like, that I live. My life has been wild and fucking interesting. And I try to take little snippets from it and hopefully encourage people and make them smile. And people like turn that into some other weird thing. I don't know, but that's fine. But it's like, some people need to take a fucking step back, because like, you're just watching a show still. Like, we're all tuned up a little bit above normal on a show. That's the whole thing. Like, you take who you are and it gets exaggerated in a couple places and it makes things entertaining. But that doesn't mean that people like, again, I would drink on my show, but people think I'm like just walking around my house, just pounding whiskey out of a bottle. Like, that's fucking insane. Like, Nick was driving. It's like, dude, no cop has ever even asked me about DUI, like, ever. Because I don't drive under the influence, because what the fuck? I have kids, man. What are you thinking? Do I have a lead foot? Do I speed a lot? Yeah, all the time. Terrible about it. I like driving fast. It's fun. I always have. It's more fun than driving slow. You also get where you're going slightly faster, which is cool. Driving under the influence is fucking horrifying to me. I didn't even do DUI defense as a defense attorney because I don't like it. I don't like it. I would refer those cases out. Everybody deserves their defense. I didn't want to do that defense. Personal choice. But people like have this impression. So let me just say, you're probably wrong about a lot of streamers. Matt Skinner with a huge super chat. Thank you. Good Lord, dude. He says, get together with Joe, aka Good Logic, and tell him I sent you. Live streams of court cases have been beyond eye-opening. Idiot prosecutors are astounding. There you go. My Spirit to Yours says, I hope Kayla knows there are many people out here praying for her too. She does. But I'll let her know again. I'm sure this has all been very tough on her. Happy your gang's back together. It has, man. It sucks. It sucks. I at least have this voice, this show, this platform to say something. She doesn't have that. She doesn't have an opportunity. And people say some of the worst shit about her, and she doesn't get to respond. And it's fucking awful. Like these people, they don't know her. They don't know her story at all. And all they get are these random lies that they're happy to believe because they think it's fun or something. I don't know. It sucks. It sucks, man. Diaz says, lol, who cares what I think? They will cringe later. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you know my children better than me, probably. Diaz says, stay offline. Dads don't have this stuff blasted. Okay. Diaz says, it's just and for me. It's real for your kids. Yeah, sure. I know it's not real for yours. Diaz says, only talking about the pics you take with K and A. Why? Do they concern you? Are you upset that I take pictures with people? Man. Again, dude, maybe take a step back. Voiceover One Winged Angel says, hey, my dude, hope you're well. My friend talks a lot about you, worries for you, and missed you at Anime Matsuri. Me too, man. Me too. He does YouTube and does reactions and teaches. Can you help him? You know him. His name is Kingdom Chuan. Have him reach out somehow, like email or Twitter or something like that. Instagram, maybe. Happy to do what I can. SG says, was the powder on your private stream from Donuts? Again, I'm not commenting on any of that shit. I don't even know if that stream is going to be used as evidence or anything like that. We're not at that point in the case yet. So again, all the people, this is the interesting thing. The analysis from the other law tubers, from the practicing lawyers who are talking about trying to suppress that stream or anything like that, none of that has happened. None of that is even in the discussion at this point. I guess it could be in the future. We'd have to get some indication that that stream was going to be used and then make an analysis of it, of whether or not like it's admissible. But we're nowhere near that part of the case. So again, I can't talk about anything like that. Marquita Na says, have you reached out to Mike Lindell for advice? No, I have not. He doesn't take my calls. Jun Wong says, Nick, all this has convinced me that if you should ever get in trouble with the law, my best option is blowing my fortune on Komatsu heavy machinery and show up at court in something really formidable. Dude, it's fucking oppressive. Like in every sense of the word. Espresso D says, did they find tampons in your bathrooms? Some of the stuff they took like notice of, you're like, that's not that's not related to anything at all. Like what that's not even like funny. It's not even a funny thing. And you just go, what the fuck are they doing? But did they find tampons in your bathrooms? I don't know. I'll have to watch. I'll have to see. I don't think there's any evidence photos of that. There might be. I'll check it out. Fucking hell. Oh my gosh. Well, guys, I think I should wrap up the show for the night. Pretty much. Look, what happened in court today, I don't know if I ever got around to finalizing it. I was talking to you guys the most, which is what I prefer to do on days like today. There are news stories out there, but I don't fucking care. Today I'm the story, apparently. What ended up happening in court, just as a summary, is we went in, we had our motion filed. You can find that motion. It's a publicly available document. You can evaluate the claims for yourself. I would encourage you to read the fucking document, though, because that's the one thing I've noticed that most people aren't doing is actually reading the document. Like actually reading them and going, okay, what is this actually doing? Because the analysis that I've seen has gotten the basic premises wrong. And it's like, understand that what we're asking for is a Frank's hearing where we get to challenge the legitimacy of statements used by the officer under oath made to a judge in requesting the warrant to search my property. We lay out specific statements that we allege are misrepresentations made with either knowledge of the falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. And those representations were material to the issuing of the warrant. That's the standard for Frank's. All we have to do at this point is make a prima facie showing that these statements were false and that they're material and that they were knowingly false. Because all we really ask officers to do in warrant requests is not lie. That's all we really ask them to do. So you can read those things. But if you start reading and you go, Nick is arguing to suppress XYZ, rewind the tape because you're not watching the right movie and start your analysis over. And if you're a law tuber and you missed that the first go around, I forgive you. I forgive you. Maybe if you were practicing attorneys, you wouldn't have missed it. So you can check out the motion because it's public. I'm sure it's shared everywhere. You can see bad analysis from it of it on YouTube. But really, what happened was the county attorney asked for time to respond in writing. They received rough 9 or 10 days. I didn't count out exactly. I think they respond by August 30th. And then we have 5 days after that. Apparently we get to reply by September 6th, I believe, which I think those are 2 Fridays or something like that, or Friday, Thursday. It doesn't matter. August 30th to September 6th. And then after that, the judge will make his ruling on whether or not we have made that prima facie showing and we proceed to a Frank's hearing. If we don't proceed to a Frank's hearing, I believe we move on from that point because without actually striking any part of the warrant affidavit, I believe the warrant would be presumptively valid at that point. I'm not saying that for sure. I'm not sure if there would be able to be a subsequent challenge or not, but that's the next step. And so if we win on the issues, again, we go to a Frank's hearing and then we get to duke out with the prosecution the validity of the statements in the warrant. If we win and strike a sufficient amount of the warrant, we win the case. Unless the state has some alternative grounds to prosecute than what they were able to obtain through the execution of the warrant. Since, to my knowledge, the only evidence that the state has of any alleged crimes came from the execution of a warrant, at least the state's version of evidence, the state's version of crimes, all of that stuff, all of the caveats necessary to talk about shit. But everything that they allege came from the execution of the warrant. And so without a valid warrant, the case would be over. People have called this like a Hail Mary pass or whatever, but you don't throw Hail Marys at the beginning. You just go straight for the one-hit KO. And anybody who doesn't go for a one-hit KO, if they think they have any chance at it, you have to always determine that with your legal counsel. But I'm a guy who says I should probably take the shot. And say, I actually don't believe that you can charge me with a crime. I don't believe that you've done the right thing. And so that's where we are right now. So again, if we win on our motion, we get to have a hearing to then further attack the warrant. If we don't win on our motion, then we just move on to the next stage. And there's a whole lot left before any sort of trial. I would not expect trial. Even if we were to go to trial, I wouldn't expect trial before December, maybe even later. I've got a long road ahead of me. So that can always change. There's all sorts of shit that can change it. But for now, that's where we are. Matt Skinner says, how do you feel about Latin as a language of law? Do you think it should just be old school English? I think it should just be English. I mean, Latin has its purpose and it's fun, but why are we using Latin now in law? Like, let's just clean up the language, make it easily understandable and accessible to everybody who's under it. The law should be readily accessible to those who are under it. Period. You shouldn't need a fucking doctoral degree to understand the basics of law. Joseph Bedford says, on top of everything else, the motion was terribly written. Okay. Like, do people think that's an insult to me? Like, do they think I wrote the motion? You realize I'm not my lawyer. Like, you guys, and he doesn't care, by the way, if you make fun of like his writing or whatever. He cares about whether or not he represents me adequately. But do you think you're insulting me if you like insult the writing of a motion or a legal argument that's made like on my behalf by my counsel? That's not insulting to me. You might be insulting them. I think that's rude. He's a good dude, but hello, non-practicing lawyer. You know, it was written by a practicing lawyer, right? Like you understand that like the non-practicing thing would work if I was writing it, but I'm not the guy drafting or arguing the motions. I have to sit there. It's the worst fucking feeling in the world, by the way, just sitting there like, I would argue something else. I would say something different here. I would say this differently. You have to just sit there. Like you just have to do that. But yeah, insult him all you want. I mean, I pay him to be insulted, I guess. Poor guy. Rude. DS says, lol, we don't care. Your kids will grow up one day. Oh my God. Will my kids grow up one day? Holy shit. No one tell them. Please don't tell them about like me existing. My kids don't realize that you guys realize they do like live with me. They know me. I see them every day. Like all the time. I know there's some part-time parents out there who like try to pretend they understand anything about raising 5 children in my house. Like I get it that they're people who've never had to actually spend time raising their own children who tried and criticize that. But like you realize that all of the children that I have lived with me their entire lives. Like they know me. It's like, oh my God, your kids are going to wake up and know you. My kids have met me before. Like they know I'm their dad. I hang out with them all the fucking time. So weird. JR says, is your governor a secret gay? No, he's not secret gay. He just is gay. And that's fine. It's 2024 or whatever. He can like buttholes all he wants. Nice to Lizard says, I hope it doesn't go to trial, but it might be worth it just for the Baldo to be presented to the court as evidence. Bring in an expert witness, etc. I don't know that the Baldo would be relevant to my case, but we'll find a way to get there. DS says, just take care of yourself and your real family. Good luck. RT4Y. Rooting for you? Yeah, dude, I do take care of myself and my family. Oh my God. George Lopez says, these loaded questions really make me wonder who's a Fed, lol. Thanks for always answering my questions, Nick. Hope to have a good rest of your night. Thank you. Matt Skinner says, I'm pretty much a lawyer. I've watched Matlock. Me too. So anyways, guys, thanks a bunch for hanging out with me tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm loving that more and more people are coming back to the streams. I'm trying to be, again, I know that I've got a ways to go before I'm back at a more full-time streaming schedule, but I am trying to be consistent on the times. Right now, Wednesday nights seem like good stream times. I'm going to see about doing a stream tomorrow. No promises. This weekend I will be busy, so I don't expect much streaming Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, even though I think I've done a couple Saturday streams, but I'm really trying to make some consistency and predictability so people know when the show's on. And I hope you're enjoying them. I hope you're enjoying them for whatever reason and purpose that you have. Again, I know the score. Like, you can watch because you're happy. You can watch because you're sad. I just hope you get something out of it that's valuable to you. Matt Skinner says, how are you feeling? I've watched the House MD series multiple times. I'm pretty much a doctor. Talking Trash and Truth says, sending love and prayers for you and yours. Hey, back at you, T3. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Thanks for all the support and love. We'll see you very soon. Have a good night. Peace. Wait, where is it? Where the fuck is it? Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some lost-plaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes madder, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an ardbeg, a bow, more of that frog. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear lost-plaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Dundee to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear lost-plaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we